Most survivors of clergy sexual abuse experience post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's all wrapped up with their spirituality. Because that type of abuse is a spiritual abuse. Have you heard of post-traumatic stress disorder? Do you know what that is? Does anyone not know what it is? Well, it happens when you've been traumatized. And we hear about it a lot in relation to veterans. When veterans come back from war, they struggle with PTSD. But it can happen to anyone who has been traumatized by an event that they feel they don't have any control to stop. What we've learned about post-traumatic stress disorder is really interesting because when somebody has been traumatized and they're embraced in their community, they're able to heal more readily. But like the Vietnam vets taught us, when they came back from war and we turned our back on them, they were traumatized for years. And some of them still struggle today. So when a victim has been abused in the church, and the church turns its back on the victim, she's re-traumatized, and those spiritual practices become harder and harder and harder to claim. Now I know you're here today because you're concerned. And you don't want to put somebody through that. But I don't believe that the people that were members in those 4 congregations that didn't want me in those congregations were bad people. I think they just didn't understand. Because let's get it straight. How many of you thought adults could be abused by clergy? Isn't that something that only happens in the Catholic Church? Usually to little boys? That's what I always thought. Until it happened to me. I'd never heard that adult women can be abused. And I wonder if anybody out there is wondering, well, come on. I wasn't born yesterday. It takes 2 to tango. You were an adult. You said you were working in the church. Come on. Was it really abuse? The answer is yes, it was. Anytime a clergy person crosses that boundary, it's a form of abuse. And the reason is because he or she, female clergy abused too, holds all the power in the relationship. All of it. Pastor, congregant. Boss, part-time employee. The person who abused me had power over me in 3 ways. He was my pastor, he was my boss, and I was a seminarian and he was my mentor. So he held all of the power. And after that happened, what do you do? Who do you tell? You can hardly believe that it's happened because this is somebody you really trusted. Who's going to believe you? And so most victims keep quiet because we're embarrassed about what happened. And then when news breaks, and it often does, we're blamed and we're shamed. Because it's harder to believe that this person who stands up in front of the congregation every single week could be a sexual predator than to just think it was probably an affair and let's get rid of them both. Out of the women that I interviewed, 6 of them had careers in the church, and all 6 of those women lost their careers. But not all of the perpetrators lost theirs. So just by being here tonight, I know that you care and that you want to do something.